All right, so we are going to do our 5.2 notes, and these notes are solving a system of linear equations by using a method called substitution. And here are the steps. The first step is you either need to find or solve for one variable. So you're going to look at your two equations, and if one of the equations is already a y equals or an x equals, then you're good. If it's not, where you don't have an x or a y by itself, then you need to solve for one of the variables. Then what you do is you substitute that expression into the other equation and then solve for the opposite variable. And then after you get a number, then you're going to plug it in and solve for the original equation. So it's easier to see when we do this. So here's example number one. Okay, example number one has y equals negative 2x minus 9, and then we have 6x minus 5y equals negative 19. Notice that we have y equals negative 2x minus 9. So we have an equation right here that already has one variable by itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this expression here, this negative 2x minus 9, and plug it in for that y right here. So here's how this is going to look. We're going to write down 6x minus 5 times, and then in parentheses, we're going to put in that negative 2x minus 9, and then we're going to keep the equals negative 19. So notice what we plugged in is this part right here. So let's go ahead and solve this equation now. So if we solve this equation, we are going to get 6x plus 10x, because we have to do our distributive property, and then we're going to get a plus 45 equals negative 19, which will get us to 16x. And if I subtract the 45 from both sides, I'm going to get a negative 64. And then when we divide by 16, we get x equals negative 4. So I didn't show all those steps here, but there's my first part, x equals negative 4. So if I come over here to where I want my solution, my final answer, I know I'm going to have a negative 4 in for my x. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take this original equation right here, and I'm going to use that, but now I want to plug in negative 4 for my x. So here we go. Let's go ahead and write that. Let's write y equals negative 2. But instead of x, we're putting in the negative 4, then minus 9. So now we get y equals negative 2 times negative 4 is going to be positive 8 minus 9. That means y equals negative 1. So I can put my negative 1 over here, and this is my answer. My answer is negative 4 comma negative 1. And then what you would need to do, especially on a test, is to plug those back in. Now you know it just worked for this y equals. You need to test that in the second equation. Okay, and actually let's go ahead and do that really quick. I'm just going to zoom in here and make this really quick and easy. Let's go ahead and do a little check step here. I'm going to do 6 times negative 4 minus 5 times negative 1. Does it equal negative 19? I get negative 20 plus negative 24. It's negative 24. Let me erase that really quick. There we go. Negative 24 plus 5 equals negative 19. And it worked. So I did a little check step there. All right. So what I'm going to have you do is go ahead and do these 3 on your own. So go ahead and pause the video, and then when you're done, go ahead and unpause it, and I'll just walk you through what the answers are. All right, now that you're done, let me go ahead and write down what these answers are for number 1. It is negative 2 comma 8. for number 2, it is 1/2, comma, -3/4. And for number 3, it's -1, comma, 1. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to example number 2. Our example number 2 has the two equations. First one is -x plus y equals 3, and then 3x plus y equals -1. Notice neither of these has an equation solved or it's already by itself. So you get to pick. And honestly, either one would work. Preferably, you'd want to probably solve for the y in the first equation or the second equation because you don't have to do anything else. If you solve for the x, you'd eventually have to get rid of this negative sign. In the second equation, if you solve for x, you have to get rid of the 3. So to make it easy on me, I'm going to use this first equation and solve for y. So here's what that would look like. Oops, here we go. So I'm going to zoom in here and let's go ahead and write this as -x plus y equals 3. I'm going to add x to both sides. I'm going to get y equals 3 plus x. So I'm going to use that now. And I'm going to take this and plug this 3 plus x in for this y right here. So let's go ahead and see what that would look like. So I'm going to write down 3x plus, and in place of that y, I'm going to put in 3 plus x. So I get 3x plus 3 plus x equals -1. And then combining like terms, I get 4x plus 3 equals -1. And then when I subtract the 3 from both sides, I get 4x equals -4, which gives me an x that equals -1. So I get x equals -1. And now let's go ahead and take that -1 and put that right back in the original equation, but right here. Okay, so we have to make sure we use the original equation. So I'm going to come back over here and write -1 plus y equals 3. Now, some people will say you could use it right here. You could say y equals 3 plus -1 and just get y equals 2 for an answer. But I like to also use the original equation just to make sure I didn't mess anything up. So 2 negatives makes a +1 plus y equals 3. When you subtract 1 from both sides, you get y equals 2. So our final answer is going to be the ordered pair -1, comma 2. And what you would do from here, especially on a test, is you would check that in both of the equations to make sure that it works. So there's example number 2. Go ahead and pause the video and do the next 4 on your own. So when you're done, go ahead and unpause it and I will tell you what those solutions are. All right, now that you're back, the solutions for these last ones would be -2, comma 0, 2, comma -2. For number 6, you would get 6, comma 17. And then for number 7, it'd be -2, comma -9/2, or -4.5. And we're going to skip example number 3. Again, we're going to wait until we get to our word problems unit. And there you go. That is lesson 5.2, solving systems with substitution. If you have any questions, please reach out for help.